Today,
watch you and McGregor
I'm going to Cook's Forest,
journeys,
so
long way
I'm going
round
to
and
go
long way
up.
down. Claudio was the third motorbike rider who made the films. So
that's great.
Very, very well known for, but he does a lot of really incredible stuff all the time, all around the world.
Area.
Most of it's very
so
hard
about a
hitting. He's just got back from
215-minute
Iraq.
drive.
He's been in Kurdistan for a while now. You know, what we know is we know that I know it's possible. I've got the technology that's been developed, got the systems, everything's essentially in place, got the right people. The issue is money,
Sure.
as usual. And this is a supported expedition, which is why it becomes expensive. But, you know, I want to use this expedition, you know, communications is very important. So to make the film, to be able to communicate, we're looking at live streaming at the moment, potential live streaming. I've just been on Skyping to someone else earlier this evening who have live streaming capabilities down there. And so we really wanted to use this. I mean, this is a huge privilege to be able to do this stuff. So we really want to make the most of it. And so that's why it's supported. I don't think I would be able to carry the kind of equipment and food and everything that I need on a bike. It's not as efficient as skiing. So it's to do 1,800 kilometers, it just wouldn't be possible. So let's make it really work, and let's make the other purposes of the journey work as well. So that's what I'm spending my time doing.
It sounds like a huge monumental effort to put something of this magnitude.
Crowdfunding campaign that's going to be quite unusual, hopefully be up in the next couple of weeks, so by the time this comes out. And essentially what I'm going to be doing, it's about an 1,800 kilometre journey, and I'm going to be offering people the stamped with the number kilometre that you own, so you have a pretty cool t-shirt, and it'd be really, I think it'd be quite an interesting way. You'll be thanked, you know, especially with my live streaming getting together, you know, I'll be able to thank everyone who supports each kilometre essentially, and give other options as well. So look out for that. So I think that would be one of the ways that'll help get that revenue up. And then I've got a few big time sponsors that I'm potential sponsors, I should say, that I'm trying to coerce. But I need this money by the end of August, so the pressure's on.
By the end of August. So you need to put a premium on that kilometre and then process the South Pole. How cool is that?
You know, kilometre number 1, you know, there'll be a few cool ones, you know, that'll be worth a bit more, but also, you know, I'll be offering things like, you know, I'll be doing some speaking gigs, and to get the US supporters, I'll make sure I do a couple of speaking gigs in the US. I'll do an Australian speaking tour, I'll probably do some speaking gigs in UK as well, where, you know, they're the kind of things I can offer, you know, free tickets to those as well, and what else I've got in there? There's a few goodies I'm just collating. You know, for the more expensive ones, it could be like a live satellite phone call from Antarctica that you might be getting on your kilometre. That would be quite cool. You know, so I'm just finalising everything now, and then we'll get that out there.
Well, let's talk for a moment about how people can get in touch with you if they want to buy a kilometer or they want to plug into your efforts in some other way. Then your website is kateleming.com, and that's KATELEE, M as in Mary, I-N as in Nancy, G.com. So
That's right.
kateleming.com, and they can contact you that way. Are there other ways that people should get in touch with you?
Well, that's the easiest way, because if you just then press the contact button, I get an email. At the moment, the crowdfunding campaign isn't up yet, but it will be probably in the next couple of weeks, so by the time you get to see this. So I don't have any more ways of connecting, but to connect with me that way, again, Facebook, Kate N. Leeming, that does it. Website as well, so that would be the best way to do it.
Well, Kate, as soon as you have the information about the crowdfunding, send that to me, and I will put those in the show notes as well, so people can go to theadventuresportspodcast.com and be able to connect with you there too.
Brilliant. Or if you just want to sponsor, just let me know. just press contact and I can give you some details. Yeah, so the internet makes it easier. We can connect globally, which is very cool.
I forget the name of the gentleman who tried it several years ago, but he was going to do something similar. He just wanted to reach the South Pole on a bicycle.
The American guy?
Yeah, he was actually from Boulder here in Colorado.
Oh God, his name. Oh.
But what happened to him was that the snow conditions got too soft.
Yeah.
And he had to make the decision, I'm going to run out of food.
Yeah, and he was in tears, poor guy.
Yeah, and so he had to turn around because he thought he didn't want to be rescued. He says, yeah, I could have made it to the South Pole. I couldn't have made it back again. So it's a tough thing. So logistically, you've targeted what essentially is the summer solstice in Antarctica for your trip, December, January.
That's when you have to do it anyway. There's no other chance of doing it. And yes, there will be soft conditions, unlike oh, this is very annoying. So I know who he is really well, and his name just escaped my head. So I was watching him. Yeah, so I'm not carrying any weight, which makes it a little easier for me, but I'm also trying to do a long distance and have different purposes. So I think he just wanted to be authentically doing it unsupported, unassisted, which that's less important to me. Yes, I want to cycle across, but I'm not making any bones about it. It's supported because I have other purposes. So.
Let's talk about your support crew for a moment. What does that look like? Are we talking about snowmobiles, or how does that work?
No, we're talking about one support vehicle from Arctic Trucks. So it'd be a 6-wheeler Toyota Hilux. These guys are they're an Icelandic company, and they are the absolute experts in polar driving, and they do it all like every year. They've done these routes many times. So I'm not going to be riding in their trucks or anything like that, but it's more about making sure that we can carry all the camera equipment, communications equipment, and I don't intend to be carrying anything more than just sort of emergency survival stuff.
But maybe people need to love first. Maybe they need to face fears and challenges as they reach for the higher life. Maybe facing challenges and fears by going and doing and touching the extremes. Maybe by doing that we bridge the levels of life. No longer a hierarchy, but an untidy mashup, undissected, organic.
Cold, tired, hungry, and in this state facing life-threatening challenges, while at the same moment, the same exhausted and scary moment, knowing more about the meaning of life, our rightful place in this world, and who and what we are than at any other time. Natl makes a good point, but it's not a law. It's a framework for understanding. It does not always apply. Gravity, now that's a law. The cold wind, a law. The ice and the biting snow, laws, absolutes. We know what these things do. Whether climbing a mountain is battling to move against the curvature of the space-time continuum, like Einstein said, or just pushing against the sucking attraction of matter, like Newton explained, doesn't really matter on the mountain. We know what gravity does, and we play in it. We play with it. We go up, it pushes us down. It's a dance that we fundamentally understand. Climbing is like that. Fundamental forces encountered. Breathe. Done. Why climb? When you have seen the most extreme beauty one can imagine. When absolutely no words can describe the experience. When you taste of life more fundamentally than you thought possible. When you are absolutely in the moment. One breath at a time. Rhythmic stepping. A seemingly eternal dance. Then you know. Then you know. you enjoy. This episode of the Adventure Sports Podcast is sponsored by BioTropicLabs.com, custom formulators and sports performance supplements for active people like you. Designed for everyone from weekend warriors and outdoor enthusiasts to high-level athletes. If your body moves, you need Biotropic. First update is with Yolandi Rust. She was episode 3 on the Adventure Sports Podcast way back in February of 2015. On that episode, she told us about her solo circumnavigation of the African continent. She was the first woman to do it on a motorcycle. So let's listen in and see what she's up to these days. Alright guys, I'm here with Yolandi Rust, and you longtime listeners will probably remember Yolandi because she was episode 3, which was actually one of our inaugural launch episodes. So Yolandi is a pioneer of the Adventure Sports Podcast, which we appreciate, obviously. But if you remember right, Yolandi talked about her trip around the continent of Africa. She became the first woman to solo circumnavigate the continent of Africa on a motorcycle. Her story was really unique because she actually started out on a mountain bike, and then after some unfortunate incidents, she ended up having to go back home and start over again, but that's what got her into motorcycle riding. So I wanted to catch up with Yolandi because it's been well over a year at this point. Yolandi, you were on February 28, 2015, so a lot of time has grown in between us, and I wanted to have you back on to hear everything you're up to. It sounds like you're pretty busy these days.
Hey Travis, yeah, wow, time is flying. I can't believe when you just said February 2015, I'm like, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. That is crazy. But it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So, man, I mean, catch us up. What is it you're doing now? I see that you've been involved with the GS Trophy. You have some aspirations to do the Dakar Rally eventually, and you're working on a book. So, just go back to kind of where we left off. What's Joe been up to since we talked last?
Yeah, so, wow, so much has happened in the interim. Basically, since the last time we spoke, I've been doing a lot of training in terms of instructing other riders. So last year, February, I did my international qualification to become a qualified BMW off-road instructor, and I've since been really busy with giving training all over, so throughout South Africa, Spain, a bit of Germany, and in the meantime, well, like you mentioned, there was the GS Trophy as well. So in February of this year, BMW Motorrad had the GS Trophy happening in Thailand. But what was really awesome about this GS Trophy this year was that they, for the first time ever, they had an all-female team that competed in the event. And I was very lucky to have been invited to be the first ever female marshal at the event. So that was absolutely amazing. I had the most amazing time. There was a whole marshals team that went over, and these are riders and people from all over the world, and we just had so much fun. Fantastic riding, the local cultures, the scenery, the trails, tracks, food, all of it was just an amazing experience. Then, as you mentioned as well, the book. So the book is in the pipeline. The aim is to have that published by middle next year. So that means we're going to have to have it finished by end of this year. So working on that. And then furthermore, I have recently started up a new company with a partner, a company called Joe Rust Adventures, and we are doing training and tours through this company. And I have my first couple of tours coming up in November here in South Africa. And I wasn't sure how, what the interest would be, but our first 2 tours are fully booked, and we just started working on a new tour today. So early next year, we're doing a whole around South Africa tour, and these tours are open for people all over, local and for people from all over the world. So that has been taking up a lot of my time. And then I am setting up my very own off-road training academy. So busy setting that out, building a new enduro park, and that will be launching in October of this year. And then in between training for the Dakar Rally. So yeah, there is so much going on. It is absolutely insane. But you know what? I have not been this happy in, well, I'm always happy, but I'm just enjoying what I'm doing so much. Really loving it.
And how did you find time to squeeze in a small interview with me with all that stuff going on? You're doing even sure.
That was pretty cool. But hey, just making it there, in any case, would be a big accomplishment.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, last time we talked, you were doing a lot with a group called GS Girls. How's that going right now? I know you're really heavily involved in getting women into riding and getting them some safe training for off-road riding.
Yeah, so that is still going strong. It has grown dramatically. So the page on Facebook, because it's mainly posted on social networking sites, but there's a lot of local rides that is started happening all over the world, and I was invited to Spain a couple of months ago to give GS Girls training there, and Germany. So I had my first trainings in Spain in May, which was really amazing, huge success. And I think on the page on Facebook we're up to almost 11,000 followers now. So yeah, it's really grown immensely, and so many female riders coming on board, which is amazing to see. And this community is just exploded, and it's awesome because all these girls are coming together, riding. I'm giving more and more training, which I really love. But the great thing is, although it's the GS Girls, even in the training sessions, it's not just all female. So we have an all-girls training or all-girls tour, but there's also mixed training and tours, and I find those to be more popular because there's more of a balance. But it's great to see more and more women starting to ride and really enjoy it, and gaining the confidence through joining these communities and also going through training and then coming on these tours. So it's absolutely amazing. It's awesome. I love it.
That's great. What a good opportunity for both sides, for you and for those women as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so your website is joerust.com, and you have some new things going on, Joe Rust Adventures and the new...
Building it with all the new stuff that's happening, but it's going to be on the same domain name, so it will remain joerust.com, but pretty soon the whole look and feel will just change, and all the new information will be up there. I'll be running a blog with all kinds of fun and interesting articles, and all the news will go up on that website as well.
Okay, cool. So people will ultimately be able to find out about Joe Rust Adventures and about the Academy through that joerust.com.
Exactly. On the website on joerust.com, or they can search for Joe Rust on Facebook. So that's my official page on Facebook.
Well, normally at this point I would ask you what else is on your horizon, but I'm afraid to ask that question because I don't know if I want to hear the answer. I think you have enough on your plate as it is.
It's enough for the time being. I think it's enough.
No doubt. Well, I'll watch out for the book, and I want you to let me know if it's coming out. And obviously, we want to get you back on, and then watch how you progress on the Dakar plans and the race ultimately, and have you back on at that point as well.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
All right, cool. Well, thanks, Joe, for visiting with me. I was happy to hear that you're doing well and you have so much on your plate. Things are going well, and the fact that you're out there riding and getting paid for it just makes me truly jealous. So carry on. Be safe.
Thank you. Chat to you again soon.
All right, sounds good. Interviewed Greg Valenzuela. I found him down in Tierra del Fuego down in South America. He had already logged 37,000 miles on the seat of his mountain bike. During that interview, he shared great stories from his experiences on all those miles. This time I catch up with him up in Washington State in the Pacific Northwest. Alright, I'm back with Greg Valenzuela. If you guys remember, we interviewed Greg. Greg, it was a long time ago. Let me see, it was January 18th was when we did this, and we caught up up with you down in Tierra del Fuego. And today, I mean, you're still pedaling, and if I'm not mistaken, you're up in the state of Washington in the Pacific Northwest, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I've been pedaling. It's been quite an adventure, actually, since even the last time I've talked to you. And yeah, it's incredible stories from South America. It's been remarkable for sure. Yeah, I'm now in Washington after flying out of Lima, and I flew into Los Angeles for summer in the United States, and I came all the way up the West Coast and come into Canada a little bit, and now I'm kind of finding my way down the Cascade Shores ACA route here in the United States.
Man, that is awesome. So, I mean, you haven't been pedaling the whole time, but you've been putting in some serious miles since the last time we talked. So, tell me where you've been, what you've seen since January.
Wow, well, since the last time I talked to you, I've seen most of South America that I had planned. I took off from Ushuaia, and it was snowing every day there, and it was still a terrific place to visit. And then riding out of the snow, I get up into southern Patagonia as I entered Chile out of Argentina, and it just got more and more incredible as I got into some of the most epic ancient glaciers and Marino, and riding on the Cartel Estrel, where I really thin dirt road through Patagonia. Just incredible stuff, coming all the way to over the end, making the Andes crosses over from Argentina to Chile over 15,000 foot passes, and going over the salt flats in Bolivia, and going hiking through Machu Picchu with Rainbow Mountain. And, I don't know, I did a busy little career off the bike and on the bike in South America. South America was a little bit of different type of touring that I expected, and it was super tough. Probably the most challenging touring I've ever done, for sure. So just, I could go on and on about every little detail, of course, but it's just incredible, and many other cyclists are doing cross continent or across South America. And you get to meet a lot of other cyclists down there, what I thought was really unique, such a rural areas, and yeah, just incredible stuff. The kind of thing where you could spend a lifetime, in a place like that. But I really feel I got a great job done and got to see quite a bit before I flew out.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm sure you do see a lot of people on that route. It's a really popular one for bicyclists and motorcyclists alike. So who are some of the people you've run across? People that are kind of lifelongers on the road all the time?
Not necessarily. A lot of Europeans, lots of Germans and lots of French. And, I actually met some great Chilean travelers as well, bikepackers, so I was really surprised. And it's a pretty popular deal. And, one thing that I noticed is that the native, the people that live there, the indigenous, they're really kind of grasping on to the idea of bikepacking and bike touring. They're out there doing it and seeing it all, and I'm really doing a fine job at it.
Yeah, for sure. So you're not spending the entire time pedaling. It sounds like you're getting off the bike and actually touring the areas that you're in and taking advantage of being down there, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened in South America. There was so much to see. I just, you can easily ride 80 miles a day and just come right to, each place. But there's so much to see, and I've been on the road so long that I've kind of slowed down a little bit. I've kind of stopped to smell the road, so to speak. And it's really been a great way to tour, because now I'm getting to see the places that I go to visit instead of just riding through the towns. And so I'm really getting to experience more, I learn more language, I'm meeting more people, but I'm gaining more weight as well. And so I have to be very careful about how long I'll stop somewhere. And so there was a lot of different types of aspects of touring that I had never done before. And it was really unexpected, but I really feel confident that it was the proper thing to do, because I did quite a few pedal miles as well, but there's just lots to see, so I think it's important to
Yeah, no doubt. Well, one of the things after we did the interview last time, I was kind of wishing I had asked you was seat choice, and it seems like a kind of a dumb, obvious question, but at the same time, I just think, how can you spend that many hours, that many miles in a seat, in a bicycle seat of all things, and be able to do it day after day? Is it just a matter of getting used to it, conditioning yourself, and finally you'll accept anything, or is there some special things you need to do with your seat if you're going to spend that much time in the saddle?
I think that's a really good question, and because I do have some experience when it comes to the equipment. A lot of people ask me, and I do feel I have a lot to share when it comes to that. And for myself, I run a Brook saddle, and so more in the saddle because they're not used to it. The muscles have to develop a little bit, and then it's easy straight after that.
Yeah, okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. The longest time I've ever spent in the saddle was a 150-mile ride. It was over 2 days, so 75 miles each day. So when you do what you do, I'm just blown away to even think about my experience, compared to that. But I get it. Conditioning yourself and finding a good quality seat that fits you, and being able to develop your body to be able to do that makes a lot of sense. I'm looking at this thing online, and it looks like a piece of pie, to be honest with you. But I get it.
Clear Park is 13 miles. That's actually quite a bit past the West Forest.
Yeah, that's really the short of it. That's really the secret. You can't get discouraged. It's going to have to know it's a particular time.
Funny. So you're up in Washington.
Yep.
Caught you at the Columbia River Gorge, I think you said, right?
Yes. What happened is that I was connecting over off of the Cascade route. It's Northern Cascades by Lake Diablo, and my route I wanted to take south is the Senior Cascade ACA route, which is on the 395. And as I came out of Washington into Oregon, I was pulled over by the Forestry Department and was notified that ahead of me there was 44,000 acre wildfire. And so he said that I could probably make it through, but he said it'd probably be best that I didn't try. So with that kind of notice, I did some rerouting. I did a 100-mile day, and I came down the gorge, and I'm going to go into Portland now and do some bike repair. It's just the normal bike maintenance thing that I need to take care of. And Portland is really the only place I can do that from here now. So it's a pretty big distance. It's been 103 days, and it was a few 100-mile reroute. And so it's just kind of a decision that I made to reroute into Portland now, and then I'll head south from there more likely.
Yeah, right. Well, it's a beautiful area to get trapped. I'll take that any day.
Yeah, no kidding. But for me, Travis, I have to be honest, is that rerouting is kind of tough for me. I like to get a set structured plan, and I like to stick with my plan because I'm working hard every day. I'm to get where I need to be. So any kind of backpacking or anything like that is a little discouraging for me. And it's just a personal issue, of course, but it's something I'm not really famous about. I like to tell people where I'm going. That's where I'm going, and stick with my plan. But as you all know, and as other people know, that travel, that sometimes you have to be flexible. And the most maturest traveler, the most happiest traveler, will be the one that can flex with changing plans.
Oh yeah, that's a big lesson to learn for everybody.
Yeah, so I'm growing a little bit.
Oh, cool. Well, it sounds like you're out there having fun, and you've slowed down a little bit to stop and smell the roses. That's good. So what's next? Where are you heading now?
Okay, well, I'm gonna probably head back down close to Los Angeles area, and I got to do a little bit of fundraising and a little bit of bike building before I want to head to the United Kingdom and to Europe. And so I have a little bit of a stretch to be able to get that done. So I'm going to try to play as smart as I can and try to get prepared properly before I fly over. I just feel that once I get over there, I don't want to have to deal with any kind of funding issues or any kind of dealing with the bike. I want to be able to, after 44,000 miles on this trip alone on this bike needs a little bit of help. So, it's well used. And I just want to be able to, continue in fashion. It wasn't my original plan, Travis. I thought that once I left South America, I'd just kind of be bumping along over the kingdom straight away. But I made a decision to come back to the States just to make sure that I'm prepared properly. That's
yeah, that probably makes a bunch of sense. So what kind of fundraising are you going to do? Are you going to try and do a Kickstarter or Indiegogo thing? Or?
I'm not sure. I'm not really big about having my hand out, and asking for just a few donations. I do marketing online on my website, so when people shop Amazon or REI or any of their famous outdoor bike shops, and I make a little percentage when they shop through my website. So I'm trying to promote that a little bit, and then we'll see, get some friends and maybe do a couple talks about outdoor talks and travel help, whatever I can, it's just whatever I can get done to just get one step as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope you're considering and thinking on these many miles each day about writing a book for the rest of us to enjoy at some point.
People have mentioned that, and it's probably something that I want to do, in all honesty. But I always joke about people, and they always say, oh, yeah, I should write a book. And I always tell them, nobody cares about my little life. And, everybody laughs. And so there's some honesty about that. I think that I'm not maybe as unique as a long bicycle traveler was at one time. But maybe I do have a story that I can share. Maybe people are interested in. I'm just still on the fence, about where I want to proceed with that.
Yeah, I get it. Well, I would, for one, encourage you to do it. I think the stories of the I don't want to demean you, but of the little guy. I think some of those episodes on our show make the biggest impact because it's something that people can relate to. We can have somebody that's sponsored by the big camera companies or the energy drinks on and talk, and the story's interesting. But honestly, people do want to hear from the everyday guy out there doing the thing that they can relate to. So I say write the book. I would love to read it, and I will absolutely be one of the readers if you end up writing one. I promise.
Well, that's great. It's really encouraging, and I love that kind of feedback because I really like to hear what people think, and the more encouragement I get, the more I'm able to push something like that. That would be great. And I have no problem being the little guy. I like being the little guy. And, that's who I am. And because I'm making it. I'm making it as a little guy. I'm not the rich guy. I'm not the guy that needs to bike. I'm the guy that that has tons of money going out of his pocket. I'm the little guy that's making it happen. And so that's more of a challenge, more of an adventure. Somebody that has a little bit more financial security.
Yeah, you got that right. Absolutely. Well, cool. Well, obviously, as usual, we'll put your site up so that people can go check out and follow along and see where you are, as well as follow you on Facebook. And guys, if you want to go help support Greg, click on his link to his Amazon store and do your normal shopping. But Greg gets a little piece of that. It'll help him push along. Maybe we can encourage him to write his book so we can all live vicariously through Greg's book. So, Greg, man, it was good catching up with you. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to give us the update of what you're doing. And I can't wait to see where you head to next. And when you head over to Europe, I want to hear all about it, okay?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much, Sean. It's really good to hear from you. And as soon as I know, you'll know. And it should be pretty soon. As you can tell, I don't sit in one spot too long.
All right, buddy. Well, stay cool up there. Don't overexert. And remember to stop the smaller doses.
All right, man. Great.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Biotropic is a biological sports performance booster supplement created by Craig Dinkel, an Olympic trials athlete, to help him train at higher levels more efficiently in order to gain a competitive edge.
All natural and safe, Biotropic packs your body with the highest grade quality of the B-Suite vitamins, offers blood support, higher oxygen carrying capabilities, and ATP booster and vasodilation, which delivers more healthy blood content to hardworking muscles. Craig has the credentials to back it up. He twice qualified for the Olympic trials, set 4 NCAA records, and earned 23 All-Americans. Today he uses Biotropics to help him train in the gym, scramble up mountains, and to prepare for a 6-month thru hike of the Continental Divide Trail.
Athletes and exercise enthusiasts, check out Biotropic at biotropiclabs.com, where our listeners can get a deep discount by using the code ADVENTURE.
Have you heard of the SiOi Iris 4G action camera? It's Adventure Sports' first always connected camera using mobile 4G LTE networks. Push a single button and you kick off a live stream to your friends, family, and fans so they can join you on your crazy adventures. See for yourself how it works. Visit live.adventure.com parents would like to do, and as a school teacher, he gets that time off. So this guy's been amazing. And his ability to take very little money and travel the western United States all summer long. He does amazing hiking trips, and he's a great writer. He's got a couple of books out, 3 books out actually. He writes for a column for a newspaper in New York. So Brian, let's check in with you and see what it is you've been up to. I know I'm catching up with you in your cabin that you're renovating up in Anaconda. So what have you been up to?
Well, it's about 6 weeks into the summer journey right now. I think about 2 weeks in. It was cool. I was able to run into you over in Estes Park, which in Colorado. And I think when I saw you, I had just climbed a 14er. And I guess the theme for this whole summer so far has been like, I'm getting up into the mountains a little bit too early. It's earlier than I usually head to the Rockies. I had that wedding in Denver to go to, and since I was already in Denver, I figured I'd just begin writing, begin traveling, and I've encountered a lot of snow since before and after we talked there in Estes Park, and a lot of isolation too, because not as many people are in the mountains yet, at least up at high elevations.
Yeah, that's right. You were telling me about some of the post holing you were doing. Even what was that? That was June, maybe end of May that we met up, and we were still seeing a lot of snow up there.
Yeah, down in San Luis Peak, there in Southern Colorado.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So you're up in Anaconda again. I know you're doing some renovations on the house up there. How's it going?
Pretty good. Part of my summers tend to be this balance between this housework and trying to get out to the mountains and find some adventures. Right now I live in California, and I could never afford a house in California, at least not right now. Are some pretty affordable houses. I bought a real fixer-upper, and so I've had to do the plumbing and the electrical and the whole works with it. But it gives me a nice little base camp. It's kind of close to Yellowstone. It's close to Glacier National Park. And tomorrow, I'm very excited to be able to go up to Glacier and do some backpacking for a few days.
Well, I was reading one of your recent articles about being up in the Anaconda Pentler wilderness, and that's outside Butte. And it's typical old Brian. I was reading it about how you got into a little bit of a bind up there, and that's what I love about your books. And I want people to check out your books, because if there's anybody that's going to inspire you to get out there and do some of this stuff, it's Brian. Because like I said, you managed to do this all on the cheap, and I think everybody needs to figure that out, because we all spend so much time and energy and money on gear and trying to figure out what the best thing to get out there with. And here's Brian. He's just out there trucking around in a pair of sneakers and sometimes one trekking pole, So it's always nice to read your stuff, and it brings us back down to earth. But tell us about the experience you had up in the Pentler Wilderness, where you found yourself out on a ledge once again.
Yeah. Well, I went out to the Pentlers with I had a vague idea of this loop I wanted to do, which probably was around 40 miles or so, and I had only 3 days to do it with, so only 2 nights on the trail. And I also wanted to climb the highest mountain in the Pentlers, a mountain called Wesco Peak, which is at, I think it's like 10,700 feet above sea level. So once I did like the first 14 miles of the hike on the first day, I realized that I'm not going to be able to finish this loop in time, especially if I want to climb Wesco Peak. I mean, I didn't have the time, and I didn't have the food, maybe more importantly. So looking at the maps, I figured, hey, I need a shortcut. And I tried to examine all the contour lines that I saw. There was one big long ridge that separated where I was from where I needed to be. And to go all the way around the ridge would have been about 13, 14 miles. And so I kind of schemed that perhaps if I climbed at the top of the ridge, there was one spot along the where the contour lines seemed a little bit more stretched out than everywhere else, which seemed super. So I took a risk, I took my backpack, hiked up 1,000 feet to this point in the ridge and looked down. And there were about 3 or 4 gullies which led from that ridgeline down steeply, very steeply down to the valley below. So I needed to get down the ridge. Gullies seemed possible, at least maybe for the first 20 or 30 feet as I hiked downward, it seemed possible. But then the gullies became more steep and more steep. And it was made out of this kind of slick, well, not slick, but it was granite, which is kind of nice, but there's a lot of rubble, and as it grew steeper, it grew more slippery. And the gully got so steep, it kind of funneled down to a point, and I finally just ditched my backpack and hiked down a little further and saw that the point that it led to was a cliff, a straight down cliff, kind of something that would have probably been a waterfall if there had been water flowing. So I was very worried.
Traditional ocean rowing boats, a lot faster. So I've got one of these brand spanking new.
Of course, whatever it is stops making noise. As soon as I get ready to get it.
know what that is. Is that a coyote?
No,
No.
it's some kind of bird.
I think it's a bird. Okay, it's just a different bird. I've never heard that. See the blue light in the trees. Big trees in here. I heard a big woodpecker. Huh. Maybe. Now I think I hear a dog. They sound like a wood chipper. I've Hello, Hi. How you doing? Hi. Oh, it's the first wildlife we've seen. Oh, and there's another one. A black one. Hi. The Tom's Run Trail is, okay.
Yeah, we're on that now.
Oh, nice.
Tom's Run and North Country are together.
Nice. We're on the Tom's Run North Country Trail. I like talking.
Samples in here to grow.
Yeah.
Were you there then?
The mushroom stuff. Like they taste like fungi.
Yeah, some people really like them.
Oh wait, there's people here. Are we done? We can't be done. What is this?
We're not done. We have a ways to go.
We still got a ways to go. So that was Browns Run and the Baker line. Let's see. Yeah, maybe we caught up to the other hikers. Alright, so I am told this is Deer Creek here. Clarion North Country Trail Association, August 12th, 2017 hike. Trees, yeah.
Real quickly, I want to show you something.
Let's see.
Because I have taken some awesome pictures. It's just, you know what? Here, I have another theory.
Yeah.
Okay, one chunk came off, which loosened a bunch.
Yeah.
And it might have been like dominoes.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
It just kind of like this one went
to some extent, but yeah, there's still some up there. So maybe when it splits vertically, or maybe there's free expansion and contraction too. Can do that sometimes.
Good video. I've watched your videos. I watch you on the rivers.
Oh,
I
nice.
like to watch kayaking.
I'm disappointed with what YouTube.
I know where the last time I saw you, it was the Connequinets in Ciccone.
Oaks Forest. And I want to continue hiking the North Country Trail up here in Kellettville, so I'm going to drive to Kellettville.
The Big Bay and Ciccone Bay. So yeah, I've just been trying to get in the hours on the boat, rowing, as well as I've got a rowing machine in my living room, so I'm putting a few hours on there as well. But aside from that, you know, there's just so much that comes with the sort of the planning of the sort of expedition. It's nothing like I've ever experienced. The amount of kit involved is just mind-boggling. Trying to piece it together, you know, obviously you've got the boat and then the hardware on board, which is a lot of like, you know, solar panels, water maker, charge monitor, VHF radio, you know, autopilot, and then on top of that you've got all the equipment like power anchors, just like a sea anchor, 90 days of food, lots of different loose equipment, so it's tough piecing it all together.
Yeah, I'll bet. So are you doing this by yourself or with a crew?
Well, I'm on my own in the boat. I chose to go solo, which is a pretty crazy thing to be doing. But there's actually, I think there's 2 other solo boats rowing in the race, and then there's about 16 crews altogether, and the rest are pairs and fours. So we'll all be setting off around the same time to sort of row across, you know.
Right on. So you said 16 crews roughly. How long do you expect this takes?
I think the fastest will probably be fastest out of everyone will be something sub 40 days maybe. I'm hoping for around 50 days. If I get under 50 days, that'd be good going. But I'm going to have 90 days of supplies, so I've got 90 days of dried food, which I actually just took delivery of there the last day, and it's 5,000 calories a day for 90 days. You can imagine the amount of food that is.
Oh yeah, it's got to be loaded, man.
Yeah, so you know, I've been doing a ton of rowing, you know, and trying to get as familiar as I can with the boat and just spend as much time as I can as possible on the boat, you know. But it's actually quite tough. It's a lot harder than I envisaged, because the boat is really designed for open water, kind of downwind. It's actually a downwind sort of boat. It's designed to sort of get carried a bit by the currents and the winds, you know. The passage that we'll be crossing over on from the Canaries to the Caribbean is sort of the main passage with the equatorial current, and also the trade winds blow across there. So it's really designed, as I said, just to go downwind. So any days rowing here in Galway Bay, if you've got like a strong onshore, you're not really going to be getting anywhere. So and also then you've got the added factor of, you know, being along near the shoreline and other boats and stuff like that. So the chances of kind of running aground are increased, because there actually isn't that much control with the rowing boat. And if you can imagine, obviously I'm sitting in the boat facing the opposite direction, not able to see where I'm going, even though I do have a mirror and stuff. But it can be quite tricky maneuvering, you know, in smaller areas, and trying to get in onto moorings and in into slipways and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been quite challenging in that regard. But yeah, it's just all a learning experience, really, you know.
Yeah, I'll bet. So do you have to plan in rest breaks in this race, or is it pretty much up to you whether you do or not? I mean, what kind of are there rules set in place for you guys to have mandatory breaks?
No, it's basically an unsupported row, in that, you know, we take everything with us. You know, we don't accept any sort of help along the way. There is a support yacht on the Atlantic that, you know, can come to our aid if we need it. But yeah, as regards, you know, you just basically, you know, you just row across the Atlantic, and you get there any way you can. And for me, I think, you know, speaking to past crews and other solo rowers, you know, I think a routine is really important, and I would have, you know, known that myself from other expeditions, and, you know, sort of trying to get a good daily routine, which will be, you know, at most rowing for 3 hours at a time. I think, you know, just having breaks, you know, like 3 hours on, an hour off, and then maybe sleeping a little bit extra at night time. Hoping to row, you know, up to sort of 18-19 hours a day,
at the most. But then there's, a lot of other, things that go along with it. Like I'll have to obviously be making water and doing the navigation and communicating with the HQ on shore, and just general sort of day-to-day stuff. Obviously, there's a lot more than just than the actual rowing. Keeping the boat, functional is an important part of it as well, and keeping myself functional.
No doubt. That's going to be a huge challenge as a solo rower. What size is the boat? This thing looks pretty big.
Yeah, it looks kind of big when you see it on a trailer, and most people do remark that. But when you stick it out in the water a mile from shore, it's just a tiny speck, and it is really small speck. It's 21 foot. It's probably maybe six foot wide at most. So it seems kind of big, but put it out in the middle of the ocean and it's a tiny speck. So one of the biggest challenges I think with the ocean rowing is trying to avoid other ships. Because I'd appear pretty small compared to a big oil tanker or a cargo liner.
Oh yeah, even with radar, you're just going to be just a little speck. They're never going to notice you. So
with the identification system AIS, and then a VHF radio. So hopefully the alarms will go off if I do encounter anything out there, and then I'll be able to get on the radio and let them know I'm here. And then if it comes down to it, I've got flares and stuff like that. So hopefully I can avoid getting hit on the ocean, but it's a big ocean, so apparently you don't encounter too much when you're out there.
Yeah. So where can people follow you if they're wanting to go visit a website and see how the race is progressing?
Yeah, so I've got my website up and running since we last spoke. It's gavinhennigan.com, GAVANHENNIGAN.com, and you can check out my blog on there, and there's links to all my other social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, on there. And I'm kind of keeping things up to date there, and I'll also have the tracking live on there. And at the moment I'm just trying to sort out a decent satellite connection through them on the sat phone providers, so that I can hopefully be updating as I go from December onwards. Hopefully maybe be able to post pictures from along the way.
Very cool. Well, I can't wait to follow along with you. What date does it actually kick off, did you say?
December the 15th, yeah. So keep note of it, and hopefully I can get back on the podcast early next year with some great stories from the Atlantic.
Yeah, I would love it. Absolutely. Well, Gavin, thanks for visiting with me, and be safe, and absolutely good luck out there. And we'll follow along with you and see how you do.
Cheers, Travis. Thanks for the update.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. As always, thanks for listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast. Go visit our sponsors, let them know you're there because of us. And of course, get out and try something new.
Just with your horse, and knowing like you've just climbed 2,000 feet in a couple miles, and now you're at 9,000 and something feet, and you're like, oh hey, this is breathtaking. And I just did this with a horse that we just couldn't just sign up for this ride. We had to qualify for this, and this is spectacular.
Podcast brought to you by 180 Tack. Get out there and have some fun.
Episode 189, riding the 100-mile Tevis Cup with Orawera. This episode of the Adventure Sports Podcast is sponsored by biotropiclabs.com, custom formulators and sports performance supplements for active people like you. Designed for everyone from weekend warriors and outdoor enthusiasts to high-level athletes. If your body moves, you need Biotropic. Back to another episode of the Adventure Sports Podcast. This is Travis. Since 1955, horseback riders have been taking part in an event called the Tevis Cup. This 24-hour endurance race starts in Lake Tahoe, California, and ends in Auburn, 100 miles to the west. Breast cancer survivor Laura Wereb recently took on this grueling challenge in the race's 61st year with her trusty steed, Merlin. Laura, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Welcome. We have to tell everybody that you are connected to our good buddy Brian Snyder. He's the teacher and writer that comes on and talks about his crazy adventures through the mountains, right?
Yep, I am. He is my sweetie pie and I guess better half, or I guess he's the up of the relationship, and I'm more of the forward, I guess, with our different adventures.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, so how do you guys know each other? Where did you guys get met before we get started on your adventures?
We met through an art collective in Santa Barbara called Fishbone, and I had been a performer and fire dancer with them first. I was actually in the program first, and then I actually got a job with a group named Bamboo DNA, and I went and worked in Portugal for 3 months building art sculptures out of bamboo. And when I came back, Brian was there, and he was in a play, and the both of us ended up in a Christmas play, and that's how we met.
That's awesome. That sounds exactly like somebody Brian would meet up with and take to. Alright, so let's talk equestrian. We've never had a horseback rider on the show, and when I found out about this Tevis Cup that you did, I thought I was pretty intrigued, because I am not a horseback rider. I've gone, I think, technically twice in my life. Once I was just a little kid, they put me on the back and pulled the rope around for a little while. But last summer I took my daughter up for the first time. She absolutely loves horses, and I took her riding, and it was my first real experience being on the back of a horse, and I had no idea that horses were so responsive to your input as the rider. So how did you get started in horses? I know you didn't start out as a little girl yourself, right?
No, I was actually like anti-horse when I was a little girl. I had all the friends that loved horses when we were little, and I actually tried liking horses for the benefit of them, where I would go to the barn and help brush out horses, but every time I got around them, they would either try to bite me, kick me, squish me, or step on me. And so I developed a very, I love them from on the other side of the fence. They were pretty, and I love the Mustangs and Black Beauty, but I was great not ever needing to touch one. So you would think that I would never get into horses, but 4 years ago, I met a horse named Merlin, his name was Lighthouse when we met him, and the girl who had bought him renamed him Merlin because she had high hopes that he would get younger like the Merlin in a story she just read. And he did, and the two of us just kind of started by I would walk with him, or I'd give him an apple and a carrot, and then after about 2 months of that, and she realized that he was a little bit too much for her to take care of when she told me that she was going to give him back to the lady that she bought him from. I was like, no, I will keep that horse, and he will be my friend. And then I think all my friends back east flipped a few times and going, wait, what?
Like Laura, the one that doesn't like horses, all of a sudden she's a horse owner? What's up with that?
Not even just a horse owner, but then a horse owner, then long distance horse owner would do endurance miles and started doing crazy 25-mile rides and then 50-mile rides, and then would in a weekend do 125-mile rides, or try to get 200 miles in a weekend. So yeah, to Tevis to 100 miles in one day.
Man, you guys have gone far together. So had your previous experience, like you said, it wasn't so great. So you had never really ridden them. I mean, you didn't take to them because they're trying to squish you and stomp you, but
no, my friend put me on the back of him, and we didn't have a saddle for him, so I actually rode him bareback. And her horse was in front of him, and I was actually petrified to all get up that he was going to run off with me. I was going to slide off. He was going to try to kick me or bite me or something. Like, he was going to get mad that I took the audacity to sit upon him. And but yeah, I fell hard for this horse, which is crazy. But today, I mean, honestly, he saved my life. Like, I would never, I don't know, he's the coolest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, that was cool. So you say he saved your life, so why would you say that?
Well, so one of the reasons why Merlin and I kind of ended up together was at the time that my friend Sarah got him, I was recovering from chemo because I had been diagnosed earlier that year with stage 4 breast cancer. And so I kind of had a little extra time on my hands because I wasn't working and I was still in treatment and getting surgeries here and there to kind of help remove things that were growing out of place. And yeah, just that partnership and that connection with him just gave me something to kind of live for. And then when he started responding and really took to me and just made me feel like a human, and I made him feel probably confident and more like a horse. I think if I didn't have that energy in my life, I don't think I would have, I don't know if I would be here today. I don't know if my brain would have started fighting better or if my body wanted to fight. Who knows? But I will say that I do believe that because Merlin entered into my life at the time of diagnosis, that I am still here.
Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like you guys came together at the right time. I understand, isn't he a rescue horse at the same time?
He is. So he's a rescue. He was rescued by the woman that my friend bought him from. And we found him on Craigslist for sale for super cheap because she already had horses and he was kind of like the extra. And yeah, he had been what is referred to, I guess, is what I've been told, Buffalo Bill styled, where he was started hard
and treated badly. So when we got him, he was scared of anybody riding him. He was scared of buckets and rakes and poop forks and grooming, and these are things that most horses don't even blink an eye at. They'll enjoy a good scratching and they'll enjoy being brushed out or having their area cleaned. But to Merlin, these were things that meant death to him. So somewhere along the line, he was either beaten or tied up, or I mean, he probably was beaten because he has injuries along his spine, and he's got injuries, muscle injuries, and he's got an area on his lower spine called kissing spine where the vertebrae is fused. So we have to have a special saddle for that. But yeah, it's like we couldn't for the first few months of even training him, you couldn't yell at him, you couldn't raise your voice, you couldn't get mad at him. So everything we had to do was, and then what it turned into just me doing was just, you had to be super soft and gentle with him and convince him that everything that you were doing was a good idea and that we weren't trying to kill him.
Yeah, I imagine that just the extensive work with him was equally therapeutic for both of you at that point.
Oh, it was great. It got me outside. It gave me something to do. It gave me, since I'm a vet tech. I'm a board certified vet tech. So I work with small animals. I do that every day, and I do 50 hours a week. And then to go to disability where I can't do anything really, is kind of gave me a cool friend to work with in the animal world that made me feel whole and as a real human too.
That's cool. So let's talk about endurance racing a little bit. You just completed the Tevis Cup, but this wasn't your first rodeo, so to speak. You've been doing this for a little while now.
Yeah, I've been at it now for 4 years, or 3.5. So I've got a few 50-mile rides under my belt, whether it's one day 50. Usually everything is in 24 hours. Endurance rides aren't where you kind of go and camp and then continue going. It's a timed race that for a lot of miles that you are going for, you have a certain amount of time to complete it in. And it's usually a loop that you go out and you ride beautiful trails and then you come back to the camp. There's a couple that are a point-to-point where you start in one area and then you continue down to another area, which that's the Tevis Cup. But most of the rides that we've done were through a company called XP Endurance Rides, which is connected with the endurance community, which is through AERC. And all these are loops. So we would do, in our our first year we started with limited distance endurance miles, which are more just to kind of get your feet wet and to see if you actually like it, which is still 25 miles, and you have 6 hours to complete that. And then we moved into 30-mile rides, which then you have 7.5 hours to complete. And then after a year of that, then we started doing multi-days, where you would go for a Friday-Saturday, or a Saturday-Sunday, or a Friday-Saturday-Sunday, or a Thursday-Friday, Saturday-Sunday-Monday. And you would do consecutive days of mileage. And then last year, we started throwing in some 50s here and there. And then we just started doing 50s on the regular, and then we started doing multi-day 50s, which you would think you'd feel tired, but I guess, you know, it's kind of like learning how to run marathons or whitewater kayaking or mountain biking or anything. Your body gets used to it.
Yeah, matter of pacing yourself, I guess.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's complete. It's just a rush being out there in so much nature, where half of these trails, you know, most endurance riders have CalStar insurance, which is the helicopter insurance, because you're in areas that most people, like, you can't get to sometimes by truck. So, you know, if something happens, a rider will come by and you're like, I need help, call Cal, like, you know, and they'll ride to the next point and be like, oh, we have a situation, we need a helicopter.
Okay, have you been in situations where you come across people like that who've been needing to lift out?
There has been a couple of rides that I've been on where that's had to happen, but it's not, I mean, it's few and far between. It's not something that's on the regular. What's cool about endurance riders, and I mean, every horse discipline has their things, but endurance riders really, 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 really love their horse. And I mean, these are people that are hours and hours and hours. I mean, everyone loves their horse. I'm not saying that one's better than the other. They're all just different, but endurance riders, they're crazy people that are out there in sneakers and their horse and miles and just, they're crazy, but they love what they do.
They have a passion for the horses and for the endurance ride.
So you know, they know what they're getting into. So, you know, a lot of people that go out there are really prepared for anything to happen.
Yeah, I'm sure. So what are some of the cooler things that you've been a part of or witnessed in some of these races? I mean, this was your 29th race, is that right?
Yeah, it is, yeah. I know, I looked that up recently. And they fly by. I had no idea I did so many. I don't know. I mean, the coolest things that I have seen, I mean, Tevis, I think that's definitely visually the granddaddy. Getting up to the top of Squaw, at the top of the Immigrant Pass, and being able to look over your shoulder to the left to Lake Tahoe, and then to the right just to absolute wilderness. That was amazing. Just, you're literally top of the world. And I mean, I know the skiers that go up to Squaw get to see that during the snow time, but seeing that just with your horse and knowing that you've just climbed, you know, you went up 2,000 feet in a couple miles, and now you're at 9,000 and something feet, and you're like, oh hey, this is breathtaking. And I just did this with a horse that we just couldn't just sign up for this ride. We had to qualify for this, and this is spectacular. Not a lot of people get to see that one. And then just these trails, I mean, just going out on these single tracks and just seeing, I've been in Utah to in the Red Canyon area where we literally rode the Thunder Mountain Trail on horseback. So that roller coaster that's at Disney,
yeah.
We were on what that is based after.
Oh no, I didn't realize it was based on a trail.
It's based on a trail. It's based on the Thunder Mountain Trail.
That's crazy.
And it's out in Utah, and it's through hoodoos and red clay, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And to do that on horseback, and then be like, oh wait a second, this is what people get to see at Disney. So we're seeing it for real.
That is cool. I'll have to look that up. I had no idea.
Yeah. But yeah, I've seen Grand Canyon and the North Rim. I've been out in the plains by the fault, the San Andreas Fault. I mean, it's just the endurance riding just gives you the opportunity to get out of the normal arena and just get out there and have that companionship with a horse that, you know, you can lease or borrow a horse, but most people have these horses that they have developed these miles and miles and miles with, so you know your partner, and your partner knows you, and it's the coolest thing to be out there with them.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't quite get that from a motorcycle or a mountain bike, you know.
They don't really talk back to you and give you the look like, hey, you kind dumb up there. This was a good idea. When?
That's funny. Yeah, it's gotta be neat to be out there with another soul like that you guys just have that connection. Obviously, you can be out there with a human, but it's a totally different thing. You're probably not riding the human.
Yeah, not probably, and you're not asking them to trust you through all these mysterious trails and smells, and there's mountain lions out there and bears, and you're like, oh no, really, it's a good idea. Let's go.
Yeah, right. Biotropic is a biological sports performance booster supplement created by Craig Dinkle, an Olympic trials athlete, to help him train at higher levels more efficiently in order to gain a competitive edge. All natural and safe, Biotropic packs your body with the highest grade quality of the B-Suite vitamins, offers blood support, higher oxygen carrying capabilities, an ATP booster, and vasodilation, which delivers more healthy blood content to hard-working muscles. Craig has the credentials to back it up. He twice qualified for the Olympic trials, set 4 NCAA records, and earned 23 All-Americans. Today he uses Biotropics to help him train in the gym, scramble up mountains, and to prepare for a 6-month thru hike of the Continental Divide Trail. Athletes and exercise enthusiasts, check out Biotropic at biotropiclabs.com, where our listeners can get a deep discount by using the code ADVENTURE. Have you heard of the SiOi Iris 4G action camera? It's Adventure Sports' first always connected camera using mobile 4G LTE networks. Push a single button and you kick off a live stream to your friends, family, and fans so they can join you on your crazy adventures. See for yourself how it works. Visit live.sioi.com and sign up for free. Follow some of their professional mountain bikers, skimboarders, motocross riders, and of course adventurers, and join in on the fun as it happens. That's live.sioeye.com. Work? Do you have a certain amount you have an amount of time to complete it, but you probably have stops that are mandatory, or can you go all the way through?
So they have, each ride has mandatory stops, like the Tevis Cup, since we're talking about that. The Tevis Cup, since it's 100 miles, they want to make sure that the health of the horse is priority. I mean, you want to make sure the human takes care of themselves too, but overall, the whole ride is based on getting a horse 100 miles, sound, healthy, and at the end, fit to continue. So if you wanted to, you could keep going. And that is key for all these rides. So for Tevis, you have to, when you get there, you have to initially vet in. So they look at your horse, they make sure that it's sound, that there's no limping or anything, no swelling, no bad cuts, no accidents. They also look to make sure that your horse isn't too skinny. You think athletic horse, you don't want them to be big, but at the same time, you don't want them to be too skinny because you need the body to have something to rely on when you're going through all these miles. They listen to the heart. They make sure that we come to a pulse criteria, and they will monitor. You can monitor pain with a horse by if their heart rate skyrockets, and so they give you a certain amount of time when you come into each one of these checks to make sure that the pulse is dropped, that the horse is happy, that the hydration is good. They check gum color. They check everything that they would check with an ultra marathon runner. Make sure you're eating, drinking. For horses, they'll also check the gut sounds to make sure that a disease called colic isn't possibly happening, where they can have problems with their internal digestive system that causes huge badness if anything goes sideways. And then on Tevis, they do a check pretty much every 10 miles. And you come in, they give you an in time, they say, hey, the water and food's over here. You have so much time to make it to the vet. Once you go to the vet, then you can continue. For 50-mile rides, for the normal endurance rides, usually you have a check every 15, and then sometimes at 25 miles or 30 miles where you have an hour hold, and that time you have time to readjust all your tack, your horse gets something to eat, you go see the veterinarian, and then they make sure that your horse is fit to continue. So they look for any limping, swelling, cuts, they listen to all the gut sounds, they make sure that the horse looks happy and alert, and if they feel that at any time that there's something going wrong, they pull your horse. And every endurance rider knows that if you get pulled, it could be frustrating, but it is overall for the better of your horse, and you know, everyone's like, oh, thank you for seeing that. It's actually it's really cool sport for that.
Yeah, it sounds like they operate it very similarly to sled dog racing, you know, for the same reasons. They're always checking on the dogs themselves. It's good because you know it's the dogs that have to go through this. We're the ones making them go do it. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's something, and that was one of the first things I noticed about the sport, even before, you know, the beautiful trails and the getting out and going longer and longer distances and seeing if we can do it. It was literally how much everyone cared about the horse.
Yeah, I'm sure. So how is it, you've been doing it for, like I said, 29 races now, so this whole time of recovery, you've been doing these endurance races. How has it been on you, health-wise?
Health-wise, you know, it's been good. Sometimes it's a little bit taxing. I know for my first ride, I didn't know what I was getting into, and I was, you know, so, your best friend tells you, like, hey, let's go for an endurance ride, it's gonna be fun, and you're like, oh, but what's that? Oh, it's, you know, you have 6 hours to do 25 miles. I'm like, well, that doesn't seem like oh, it's fine, we're gonna have a great time. And, you know, I go out, and I was still coming off of chemo, so most of my joints were inflamed, and, you know, still just growing back hair, and kind of like, hey, this is fun. But honestly, I look at the pictures, and I don't think I had like a bigger smile ever on my face. And I know that I've had surgery for my ovaries to be removed. I'm not allowed to have any estrogen. main woman, and she got behind us and helped pay for our entry and get us our belt buckle and helped me with the nutrition for Merlin. And her other company, Pro Rich Nutrition, also a huge sponsor for us. And then in our local community, the Fishbone community where Brian and I met, and just friends and more friends and friends of friends, and the endurance community. When I first got Merlin, when I first got sick, my art community did a fundraiser for me to be able to pay for bills, medical bills, to be able to do a little traveling and just kind of like be a human while sick. And then after that, when I got Merlin, I reached back out to the community to help get an orthopedic saddle for him so we would be able to do our riding, because he's got a lot of different injuries old injuries, nothing new, but just things that, you know, you need special equipment for. Special, you know, runners need special running shoes, bikers need special bikes for their thing, and we needed a specialized saddle for his spine. And because our community was like, oh yeah, like everybody just so much support, and it was crazy to just feel so much love and so many people out there. And then with Pegasus, all the love just to, you know, to have us do our dream. I don't know if we would have been able to do Tevis without the help. And I get all teary all the time when just someone's like, oh my God, this actually happened.
Yeah, it's cool. What an opportunity that they've given you, and for Merlin to be able to live, you know, with you on the same property has got to be extremely beneficial to him as well.
Oh, it's so awesome. I look out because I live on the RV on the property, which is, you know, you think RV tiny? No, this is nice. I love it. It's cute. It's compact. I can have all my pets. And then I walk out the door and Merlin's right there, and he can nicker to me, and he's trained. Like I have him trained now where he stays with me, so he can kind of like have some extra snacks and some wandering. He helps me do the night checks. I go around and I make sure all the horses at night are doing okay and get their evening snacks and treats and things. And he can come with, like, he works with me. He'll literally help me out with all the work, and it's such a cool opportunity.
That is cool. Were you also telling me about an organization called First Descents that you've been working with a little bit too? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so First Descents is a kickin' nonprofit that is based out of Denver, Colorado, and it is a group that helps people, kids with cancer, get out and live, get out and do something amazing, and not have to think about their disease. And as someone with cancer, you don't got a lot of money, because you constantly, you know, either going on disability or you're paying for huge medical bills and you're always in debt.
Right.
And you know, you can only ask family so much. And this group will send you somewhere in the United States to go either whitewater kayaking or rock climbing or ice climbing or surfing or did I say rock climbing? And you can go for free. And I got to go on a trip in Montana and go whitewater kayaking last summer and meet a bunch of people just like me that are living with cancer, but you know, we're not dying, we're outliving. And their motto is outliving it. So after that, I've been doing my endurance stuff and talking about the First Descents, and this year, because I kind of wanted a block of time, so I just did Tevis, and now I'm starting a my fundraiser page that's set up through the First Descents program, and through their website you can go on and locate Laura Wereb, and you'll find my page and my story. And when you donate money, all that money goes back to them, so they can send another kid with, or you know, young adult with cancer to one of these programs. So everything that I'm doing for them, it goes back to them, and the base is $2,500 to send, is what they say on average costs. Send someone airfare, food, travel expense, being picked up, everything. Like when you get granted one of these trips, they take care of you, and it's not just you're in like this kind of creepy little dorm and you get to go whitewater kayaking. No, it's like a resort spa, and they have gourmet chefs that they bring in, and you are a queen and a king for a week, and you feel so much love and so much gratitude, and you're outliving it. And so you come back and you're like, I'm outliving it, and let's go live. So for me, the endurance riding is like, you know what, world, I'm living it. I'm going out, I'm going to do these 100 miles, and you know, I don't care if I could die next year or, you know, get sick or need treatment or have surgery. And you know, that's second. That's not something that you know, yeah, that's a thing, but it's not the thing. It's not what rules my life. And a lot of these people that I met, they have the same philosophy, and then we all get to be together, and then now turn around and try, you know, show this to someone else.
Yeah, that is cool. Well, it sounds like an amazing group. I'll have to look them up and maybe get one of their people on the show too. I love getting those stories out there about groups like that. So thanks for sharing.
That would be amazing to listen to. One of the main people's stories, because the adventures that they go on, like the adventures that you can make up and just do. It's wild what the outliving it program people have been doing.
Cool, very cool. We'll make sure we get their website as well as everybody else's, the Tevis Cup, as well as Pegasus Winery, Pro Rich Nutrition, and First Descents up on the site under post for sure.
Gate Mountaineering.
located in Golden, Colorado, has been outfitting backcountry travelers for more than 20 years. The snow is melting and the crags are drying out. Time to break out the hiking boots, rock climbing shoes, and tents. Gear materials and designs are more evolved than ever. From the latest ultralight gear to the tried and true classics, Bentgate has the premier brands for climbing, hiking, and camping essentials, including Arc'teryx, Hilleberg, Nemo, Western Mountaineering, and many more. Need advice on destinations, getting started, or on fine-tuning your quiver of gear? The Bentgate staff are all passionate adventurers who can give you the data and advice you need. Bentgate is also hosting numerous events and speakers this summer, so please check out their events page at bentgate.com for more information, as well as to see their full product selection. The 180 Flame is the ideal alternative to bulky and fragile gas-burning camp stoves. The 180 Flame uses fuel parts with minimal weight and maximize reliability. The locking tab and slot design means there are no hinges, welds, or rivets to failure in the field. Cook your food and boil water quickly using only small amounts of natural fuels, including twigs, grass, pine cones, and leaves. Weighing just 6.4 ounces, the 180 Flame is the ideal alternative to a backpacking stove. You can find your new Flame at 180tab.com or a retailer near you. 180 Flame, big, and small. For somebody that just doesn't know horses all that well, I can imagine it in endurance races, the horses running down some form of bridge rail, but obviously there's more to it than that, so fall. We'll revisit in the fall to visit more about that one. But he also has a Human Interaction Project, which is a humanitarian organization that I'll let him explain to you, but where people are encouraged to travel and reach out and touch the lives of others. So, Leon, thank you very much for being on the show today. We are excited to visit with you.
Thanks for having me once again.
Oh, you bet. So, Leon, you are currently in the UK, though you live in Los Angeles.
You don't deserve to live your best life. You don't deserve to be inspired. And yes, don't get me wrong, time is a barrier, money is also a barrier, but anything can be overcome. And once you overcome the psychological aspect of it, then that is the greatest mountain that you can climb.
How does one overcome that?
That's a good question. Well, I can tell you how I overcame it.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that I still don't have psychological barriers in certain areas, because of course I do. I'm human. I have barriers. I always do. But how I overcame it to start with was simply through the fact that I was in so much emotional pain. I was suffering emotionally. On the outside, I had everything, but on the inside, I felt bankrupt. I felt emotionally bankrupt. I felt spiritually bankrupt. And I felt like I was up against a wall, and I had to do something to change my life. And the pain got so great that the life I was supposed to lead crumbled, which was beautiful, because that's what I needed to happen. And I started.
Okay, today is August 12th, 2017. I finally found the next section of the North Country Trail I haven't been. It's just off Route 666 in Callettville. A little campground. What I want to do is head south and hopefully get to the edge of the National Forest. And we all know that I've covered my distance up to here, because last time I was up this way, I think I hiked from Route 66 to the beginning of Allegheny National Forest. I'm told that if I go down Salmon Creek Road, I should find more country trails. Let's see. 2 hours to find this place from Cook's Forest, and it's basically probably 20 minutes away at most, so I didn't go the most direct way. Okay, there's a little ways there with the snowmobile. 2:18 p.m. I run some sections of it, especially down this road. The opposite direction will take you to Master Creek. I'm kind of going north. This is, well, north, that would be considered east. This is going west. Callettville. Allegheny National Forest, northwest Pennsylvania. Blue places. So this is following this road for a while. This must be Salmon Creek Road. The only sections in Pennsylvania I haven't done are just a few parts in Allegheny National Forest. So I come up here for another hike, usually some group hike that's too short to justify coming up here. have on a section in the National Forest. And there's probably a few sections I've been to before, but I've never filmed on that section. So I'll pick those up too eventually. I haven't done too many new sections in 2018 because I've generally been pretty broke money-wise. Only now I'm getting out of the car that I had that cost me everything I earned in gas and getting into something cheaper, smaller car, not an SUV, so I can get better gas mileage and afford to go places. Alright, I wrote a little bit of a longer section for the North Country Trail Hiker blog. August 12, 2017, 2:45 p.m., 77 degrees, partly cloudy with a slight breeze. I am hiking on a new-to-me section of the North Country Trail. I was hoping to hike from Kellettsville to the National Forest boundary, however I didn't know it was 14.5 miles. 29 miles is too long to hike today. I have hiked most of the NCT from Beaver Creek State Park, Ohio through Allegheny State Park, New York. However, I have never been to many of the most beautiful sections in Allegheny National Forest. I photograph and video new-to-me sections of the NCT. Videos go on YouTube with some time delay for editing. I love exploring and sharing my adventures. Mike Ciccone, Wexford, PA, USA. And as you'll notice, this is a bad caterpillar. These white ones, I think if you touch them, like, bad stuff happens to you, so stay away from them. It's great. I don't know if that might be Tom's around. Smoke.
something. It's here. The trail turns left. Maybe it goes in the woods. I'm ready to hike on the end of the woods trail. Salmon Creek. So Salmon Creek is here. Salmon Creek Road. I don't know. I always thought I was already on the Salmon Creek. Coming up on the state game lands. Berries.
But it's not an easy road. You like I said, you've got to commit, and many of us commit to our families. Many of us commit to our careers, but we don't commit to our own greatness, to our own, internal drive to live the way that we want to live. We don't commit to that. When pain comes, we eat too much. When pain comes, we maybe drink too much, and we don't put the type of effort that we do in other areas of our lives to fix what's going on inside. And unless you fix what's going on inside, then you're never going to reach your truest potential.
I think about the old paradigm of, you're out in the ocean and you're on a sinking ship and people are in the water and they're struggling and crying for
this life, which is sometimes a challenge. But true magic happens when you fix, maybe fix is the wrong word, but when you fix what's going on inside you, and then the heart can open up, and then you can truly heal.
Yeah, good words, good words. So what about this trip? Language barriers. How did you communicate with people when you didn't know their language?
That's a great question. Look, most people in Europe, for example, a lot of people speak English. It was a bit harder as you went further east. And then when I was in Asia, a lot of people did not speak English. But you always found someone that spoke English. There was always someone, whether or not it took an hour to find someone or whatever, there was always someone that you could communicate with. If I didn't speak English, and let's say I spoke some more obscure language, maybe it would have been much, much more difficult.
So that, in a sense, then, it's not really that big of a deal if you're patient.
Yes, that's always been my experience whenever I've traveled. And there's always a way to communicate, as long as, even if you don't speak the same language as the other person, there's a way to communicate. Yes, maybe you won't be able to communicate enough to find a place to stay, get some gas, but there's always a way to communicate.
Biotropic is a biological sports performance booster supplement created by Craig Dinkle, an Olympic trials athlete, to help him train at higher levels more efficiently in order to gain a competitive edge. All natural and safe, Biotropic packs your body with the highest grade quality of the B-Suite vitamins, offers blood support, higher oxygen carrying capabilities, an ATP booster, and vasodilation, which delivers more health.
Okay, this is take 2 for the North Country Trail. Just training itself, 4% creek, 5 miles. So groovy, let's make groovy. Rock was like Swiss cheese. Just laying in the woods. Kind of spooky. It's a big mountain. The Oil Creek hike I did in the spring. Very wild. Still going up. Whoa, there's a big huge rock area over there.
Caves up. This is so neat. Look at these. It's all conglomerate pebbles. Look at this. Oh, look at this rock. It's a good hiding spot for a bear. I was gonna totally hang out in this place.
This must be one of the biggest rock areas ever. About a 60-degree angle. definitely going down. I feel like I've come up about 1,000 feet. Turns out nice. There's a sign here. Oh, I'm always thinking it's so nice up here, but I probably should turn around. I can kind of remember where I'm at here. Made it to Forest Road 399. I've already hiked like 20 miles today.
its 6th edition and continues to be a leading manual for proper foot care for athletes. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. So for many of us, foot care is not exactly the epitome of riveting conversation, but I think your expertise really fits in with our audience. We have a lot of ultra runners and backpackers and thru hikers that could benefit from your tips and tricks. So let's jump right into that.
it is actually
true. As you have friction in your shoes, you build up that hardened layer of skin. And over time, if it's repeated pressure and friction, the skin gets really thick. And it's not just one layer of callus, it's multiple layers of skin, and it can get really thick and hardened. And bad callus, like on the back side of a heel, can affect the way that your foot fits in your shoe. Callus under the ball of the foot is very common, or on the sides of the small and the large toe. That can be very bothersome, and it's just, I have just found that thick, hardened callus is more harmful than it is good. That said, it's difficult for many people to reduce calluses because no matter how hard they try to file or use creams, etc., they just can't get their calluses down to where it's good, softer skin. But in my mind, you've got to work on that. If you want to keep your calluses, that's perfectly fine, and I don't fault people for having them, but I tell them, in my experience, here's what I found. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, having a callus, like I said, it feels like you're protecting something, but what you're saying is you're actually creating a harder surface to create a lot of friction underneath that. Once you get a blister underneath the callus, you're much worse off. If you have a blister, say, on the side of your heel, and if it's soft skin, you can see it and can see the fluid in there, and it's easy to lance it to get the fluid out, tape over it, and you're good to go. If you have fluid under a callus, you can't see it. You don't know where under this callus it is. So say you've got 1.5 inches of hardened callus on the outside of your heel. You don't know where that fluid is, or how deep it is, or how much is in there. And the only way to get to it, you can't use scissors. You have to literally use a needle to kind of go after it and try to get down and find that exact little area that has the fluid in it that might be smaller than the size of a pea. So let's talk about why we get blisters. I assume this is a situation where we're just, having a friction where the skin is moving, against the shoe, but also moving against the subcutaneous layer, and then that causes the aggravation. But what is the kind of science or the mechanics behind it? Well, you kind of hinted at it in your words there. It's what's going on inside the tissues. In many editions of the book previously to the new 6th edition, all carried the same thing. They're caused by heat, friction, and moisture. And in this new edition of Fixing Your Feet, I found, and I have a whole specific section and chapter on it, that there's this thing called shear. And to give you an example, if you think of your heel bone, your calcaneus, as you go through the foot strike and you come down in your hiking shoe on your heel and you roll over toward and off your toes, that heel bone goes up and down. It's just going to move through the foot strike. That bone moves against the inner tissues. And as pressure and friction in your shoe increase, you have the chance of a sac of fluid forming in there. That's the blister itself. Your skin is typically moving, just a little bit against your sock. Your sock is held in place against the insole and the sides of your shoe. So the only thing that really moves well is your heel bone against the inner tissues, and that back and forth movement up and down is called shear. And so you've got to work on how can we increase the ability of the skin and the inner tissue to actually move with the heel bone and not allowing blister to form. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Your description of, basically having a little movement creates the ability to create a lot of movement, and that's where you get the blister forming. And I mean, not to be gross, but what is the fluid that is actually forming in there? Why do we end up with that pool of stuff? It's just what's generated by the tissues in there. It isn't harmful. It won't cause any issues if you get it into, say, if you've got, if you have somebody you're hiking with and they have a blister and you pop it for them, I have to be careful what I say here. I'm not a doctor. And so some people will say, oh, you have to use personal protection and put rubber gloves on your hands and, all that stuff so you don't get the fluid on your hands. I've never had any issue. And if there's blood in it, of course, that's a whole separate story. But just the fluid in there,
is a legitimate thing. There
it's
are
just
villages in
the
Pennsylvania.
result of the movement back and forth. The tissues begin to separate, rub against each other, open up, form this cavity that fills with the fluid in there. So maybe when in doubt, just have your buddy take care of his own issues. Yeah, well, I'm a strong believer that everyone, should know how to take care of their own feet. And for me, what that means is, you know, I can tell you what I do. I can show you what I've done for thousands of people, but if I tell you, well, you have to wear this kind of sock, or you have to wear a certain insole or shoe, and you have to use a lubricant between your toes and on your heels and all that, that's fine, and that may work for a period of time, but it may not work. And what works for me, I generally say, doesn't necessarily work for you. So you've got to find what works for yours. than I thought you were. I know, it's crazy, but I mean, when you do what you love, then you don't mind spending pretty much all your waking hours doing it. And I really, really love what I do, so I could do it 24/7. I just need a bit of sleep somewhere in between. So you got that right. As you're rattling off everything that you've gotten involved in, even since we've talked, I just think, I was just sitting there thinking, what a lucky girl this is. I mean, to be able to put together these tours and have them fully booked, from the get-go, that's a pretty good thing. That's a good problem to have. I know, it really took me by surprise. I mean, I said to my business partner, if you say to me, Joe, trust me, it'll go well, we'll see. And I said, okay, well, let's just test this, let's see what the interest is, if people want to come ride with me. And the first tour we put out, I mean, I think basically in the first 2 or 3 weeks it was fully booked. I was like, oh my gosh. What did I do here? And he said to me, Joe, I've never had this problem before. I've never had to send out an email to people and say to them, we're sorry, but we're fully booked. And I said, oh, like you said, it's a good problem to have. So he said, okay, well, let's just do a second tour. And now it's at a point where we're thinking we might have to do a third tour. So I'm like, okay, well, this is telling me I've made the right decision. I'm going in the right direction. And yeah, darn, I gotta do more riding on my motorcycle when you get paid to do it. It's terrible. That's right. Why not you? So I understand that you've upgraded your motorcycle. Last time we talked to you, you were a very new rider, actually, on a BMW F650 GS. And actually, GS to car, if I remember right. And now you've gotten a little bit bigger bike. What are you riding these days? That is right. I was still on the 650 the last time we spoke. So I mean, you were. And I wasn't an instructor yet. So now I've gone through, from the 650 I had an 800 GS, then I had an 800 GS Adventure, and I've been on the 1200 pretty much for the last, I would say, 8 months or so. So I think I'm now on my 4th or 5th 1200. Wow. Yeah. You've gone through bikes faster than I do. I've gone through a few of them, but basically I've been riding demo models. But I recently got my very own 1200. So it just went for its first service yesterday, actually. And yeah, I've gotten so used to this. I absolutely love the 1200. I must say, and we rode, that's what they rode in the GS Trophy. So the competitors were on the R1200 GS and the marshals on the R1200 GS Adventure. So I was riding an Adventure in Thailand. And initially I thought, it would take more effort for me to handle this big beast. But I was absolutely amazed at just how effortless the bike made everything feel. It was such an amazing machine. So yeah, I'm completely in love with the 1200. Yeah, I've read that. I'm on a F800 GS now, and I like that size of bike just because I do a lot of off-road riding. And I just always assumed that the 1200 would just be too much bike for that kind of stuff. And yet I hear you say it, and I read it time and time again, that people are saying it's incredibly nimble for the size of the bike it is. So it sounds like you agree. It is. I have to agree. I mean, I initially also thought I was a bit intimidated by the size of it, but once I started riding it, I also had an 800, and I'm fairly short, so I'm like 5'5". And the 1200 just feels more comfortable because it's a bit lower. It has a lower center of gravity. It has that low-end grunt, that torque that I really love when you get into the technical stuff, and the balance is just unbelievable. So really, the bike makes it easy. I think the 1200 out of the GS range, really honestly, I have to say the 1200 is the easiest bike to ride. Very interesting. Well, I think that the height obviously makes a big difference because even the 800 has a pretty high seat height, so I didn't realize that the 1200 was so much lower. Well, anytime that you get tired of one of these demos or this old bike that you're riding right now, this clunker, just feel free to put it on the plane and send it over to me. I'll send one over, or maybe I'll ride it over. But if I put it over, I probably you might not want it. Well, I'll take my chances. So tell me a little bit more about the book. You're trying to squeeze the book in the middle of everything else you're doing. You're trying to finish up by this end of the year, looking to publish by middle of next year. So this book is around Africa. This is the book about your